Hello and welcome to Scale Your Sales podcast. Now, my next guest is a repeat recipient of the 25 Most Powerful Women in Accounting Awards. She is named Thought Leader of the Year and is a globally pursued public speaker, an executive with deep experience in partner management, sales and marketing, and is currently the Chief Commercial Officer at DIRTT Environmental Solutions. Welcome to Scale Your Sales podcast, Jennifer Warawa.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
It's wonderful, wonderful. The last time we sat together, this is almost like that, was at Excel, the Accountex at Excel, and had a lovely conversation. And I know that, you know, you've moved companies, and I wanted to find out all about that. So this is your year's anniversary. So it'd be great to find out, you know, how things have changed and your view. So let's just jump straight into, tell me more about the product range, because it's very different to accounting, the product range at Live.
Yes. Thank you so much. Yeah, so we do custom prefabricated manufactured construction for interior construction. So we focus on commercial, healthcare, government, and education. And so we're building out essentially interior environments. And so it's very different than the industry I was in before with software. We are powered by technology, so all of our manufacturing process and our design process is all done by our proprietary software, and we use VR to be able to tour your space in advance. So it's a lot of technology used, but very different industry.
So you've been in the role for a year. 6 months of that has been in lockdown. And there's been a lot of adaptation and pivoting, and especially in your role of Chief Commercial Officer. So talk about some of the things that you've had to change and adapt within your organization to continue to service your customers.
Sure. Well, I think obviously from a sales perspective, I mean, all of our sales team is out in the field. So they're out there meeting with clients, meeting with partners, visiting with architects and designers. So that's what they do every day. They're out on the road. They're not working from an office. So having that transition going to work from home is a massive transition. And I think, you know, initially, obviously safety is a huge priority. And we were obviously concerned, first of all, about physical safety. So everybody locks down, and, you know, we had no one in our offices and everyone's working from home. But very quickly, the topic went from just focused on physical safety to, you know, that mental safety and mental health, because, you know, here's people that are used to being out and about. They're extroverts for the most part. They're doing a lot of interaction out in the field, and now all of a sudden they're not leaving their house. And so it's a very, very different environment. And so you've had to balance that, you know, moving the business forward with continually checking in and seeing where people are at. And you can have two people that are down the street from each other that have very different experiences. I mean, one person can say, my life is basically the same as it was before, but now I wear a mask. And someone else says, everything's been turned upside down. I've missed family events. My kids are driving me crazy. I mean, so there's these dichotomies of how people are thinking about the quarantine, and you have to meet everyone where they're at. So it's been very interesting. I'll say that.
So what about in the factories and things? How have you adapted the production side of your manufacturing?
Well, I mean, obviously that is so critical, because that's the heartbeat of our business. If we can't manufacture, then we can't deliver a product. And so making sure that the folks in our factories are safe has been a really key priority. Obviously, I mean, everyone's safety is a key priority. But, you know, we used to have a lot of interaction between the offices and the factories. I mean, you'd have people going back and forth. We did factory tours all the time. We'd have clients in and partners in. We'd have people flying in. And we've had to stop all of that. We don't have people going back and forth between the office and the factory. We're not doing any factory tours. We've taken them all virtual. And so it's a very different environment. We're not risking anything as far as their health and the safety of our people. So it's just been a very different a different experience and a different environment.
So you say you're taking it all virtual. So are there things that you've had to create from the ground up that you didn't have before? Or were there things already in the pipeline that you've just accelerated?
Yeah, we've really had to take experiences and flip those to online. And so a good example of that is, Calgary, Alberta, Canada is our headquarters. I'm actually based in Dallas, and we have offices throughout the US as well. But with Calgary being our headquarters, we would bring clients, prospective clients, partners up to Calgary all the time. Every week we had people flying from all over the world to come and see our solutions and experience, they'd tour our factory, they'd meet our people, they'd look at our DIRTT Experience Center, like our showroom, and we'd spend a couple days with them, and you build some relationship and you get to know them and they get to experience your business. And all of that stopped. Right now, if you go to Canada from the US, you have to quarantine for 2 weeks. And so we can't do any of that right now. And so we had to take an experience that is very personal and very interactive and very tailored to whoever is visiting and flip that to online, which is really tough to do. It's like, I guess it's like visiting a zoo. I mean, you can do it online, but that's very different than actually being right there with the animals, right? So we moved that to online, and it's a big transition, because for salespeople, them bringing their prospects up to Calgary was like it was a very special thing. So they were like, I don't know if I want to do this online. And so you're kind of bringing them along for the journey and figuring out how that's going to work. So things like factory tours, we went and did a whole recording of the factory tour, which is a part of visiting our office. And then we said, okay, it doesn't work if you have someone recording the narrative. So what we need the video to be recorded, but we need someone live to be talking them through and pausing and taking questions. And so we've kind of had to navigate, how do you create that experience even though you're not there in person? And it's been a challenge, but all that stuff had to get built from the ground up. Same as our onboarding for our employees and for our partners. That's always done in Calgary. So we bring people in, we have something that we call DIRTT Experience, which is a complete immersive experience. You get right in there and you're building solutions and seeing how stuff comes together and learning about the company and our mission and our values. And that's all done in person. And we had to move all of that to virtual. And I think you're also moving everything to virtual when people are kind of tired of virtual in some ways. So they're like, they've done a whole day or weeks or months in front of the computer. And so you have to make it really interesting to get them excited and to keep them engaged. So flipping all of that to online has been an experience, but it's been good in some ways. I mean, we have an office at DIRTT Experience Center in New York, and we're just about to open a new one in Chicago. And now through all of the virtual things that we've set up, any sales rep can offer a tour of any of our DIRTT Experience Centers from anywhere. So they don't need to fly them to New York to tour New York, because we've created all these virtual experiences. So even post-pandemic, whenever that is, they can still go and tour all of our spaces. So there's definitely some positive lasting outcomes from it.
Off camera, you told me what DIRTT stands for, and I absolutely loved it. Can you share that again?
Yeah, absolutely. DIRTT stands for doing it right this time. And, typically when we think about what that means to us, we think about conventional construction and the amount of waste that, conventional construction, we think about drywall, all of the waste that's created, and how when you build something, it's not flexible. It's there, and when you want to change it, you need to rip it down, throw it out, and start over. And so when we talk about doing it right this time, we think about sustainability and flexibility and being able to have a workspace that changes as your business needs change. And I think today that's more important than ever, because people are trying to figure out, what is my office going to need to look like in 6 months? No one has any idea. And so they need something that can be flexible with their needs. So it's timely right now.
Yeah, it sounds like DIRTT has always focused on has been customer centric, and really focus on the needs of the customers, not only from the meaning of the name, but actually the way that they kind of deliver the product and service to the customer. Was that something that really attracted you to the company?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, I love the focus on the customer, and I love working with partners. Those are two things that that I really appreciated, in addition to the culture. And so when you put all those things together, it creates something magical. I think the part that really attracted me as well was, how do you take that magical client focus and client experience and scale it? And that's where it gets really interesting, because you know, you've created something that grows to a size, and it's very hands-on and very personal, and you don't want to lose any of that personal touch or that customized experience, but you want to double and triple the size of the company. And so that's always the challenge, is how do you make everybody feel special and unique while you're scaling your business? And so it's a fun challenge. I like that.
And I think that the timing now, having to do everything virtual, allows you to scale as well. So, you know, the kind of two things are running together in the experimenting how this would work, but also not losing the personality and the personability of it as well.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So what practical strategy would you offer listeners to enable them to scale, to build long-term relationships as you do? Because I know your key area is partner, the partner side of businesses. So tell us more about that.
Yeah, I think if you're, you know, I always think that, you know, you want this magic bullet or the silver bullet on, okay, what's the one thing that's always, I'm always, well, it's not one thing, it's many things, but I'll share a few with you. I think that, you know, I think for us and for most companies, when you're looking to scale, it's how do you unlock those really memorable, magical client experiences in a scalable way. And I think that's where you start to lean on digital strategies. How do you leverage, you know, digital nurture, for example, to help clients feel like they're truly your only client, like they feel incredibly special. So I think it's, you know, I think that is a huge piece of being able to scale, because you can, if you don't have digital, you're not going to be able to scale to a huge extent. I think as we're scaling our business, how do you put in all of those structures and systems to make sure that everybody's ready for the next phase of growth? So everything from making sure that you have all of your sales tools ready and scalable, you know, tools like your CRM, and is it ready for your next phase of growth, is really important. You know, and the structure, you know, I think in early days of any business, everybody can do things in a different way, and that's okay. But once you start to scale and you're hiring at scale and you're really growing your business, you want everybody to be doing things in a consistent way, and you always want to be refining it based on what delivers the best results. And so, so having that consistency is important. I think, you know, I think one of the things that is critically important as you're looking to scale your business is to tap into the people that already work with you and love what you do. And I think sometimes people are hesitant to, you know, to ask for referrals or say, you know, you had a great experience, but who else do you know that this could be applicable to? And so, you know, I always say, of course, people in sales say this, but everybody's in sales. It's like, oh, is the sales team going to do this? It's like everybody in this company is in sales. And I say the same thing about marketing. They're like, well, when is the brand team going to do that? I'm like, you're part of the brand team. You need to do that. And so, you know, you want to turn everyone into a salesperson and into a brand ambassador. And so getting people to make referrals and recommendations and provide testimonials and really get out there and spread the word on their own, in their own networks, on their own channels about the experience that they've had with you is a great way to scale. And I mean, you're not going to get any better lead than a lead that's been referred by somebody that is trusted by that lead source.
And I must say that you're brilliant on social media. Everyone, I will put the link in here, should check out Jennifer's Twitter account, because she's always doing selfies, but you know, with teams of people and who she's coming into contact with. That some of that must have dried up now, because you know, we're all sick of seeing Zoom pictures and things like that. So
exactly. It's less selfies for sure. We'll have to get a selfie at the end of this. I'll have to take a selfie with you and I and you on the screen. But yeah, it's what you're taking pictures of. It's pretty much the same environment every day, other than who's on the screen. That's the only thing that changes. So you're like, I guess I'll have to start taking pictures of who's on the screen, because that's the only thing that changes some days.
yeah.
But yeah, it is different. I mean, I can't wait to get back out and start seeing people in person.
Yeah, no, I think we're all feeling that at the moment. So talk a little bit about diversity. You're at the top of, well, you know, at senior level, and you know, the higher up you go, often the less women that you see in your position and above. And I wonder what you feel in the B2B environment, how it has progressed, you know, what you've seen that's really made a difference.
Well, I think back, you know, 15 years ago, I had my own business, and my largest client was a general construction company. And so there were very few women involved in that. I mean, very few women on the job site, very few women in the construction industry overall. And so when I look at fast forwarding to today, and now being a woman in construction, there's a lot more diversity. There are a lot more women in this industry, and we have a number of partners that are women-owned businesses, which is fantastic. So I see a lot more diversity. I think that, you know, I think that people are starting to realize that diversity is not just a gender, you know, it's not just about gender. And I think that's critically important for people to realize, because, you know, some of the magic of diversity is when you get someone who's just out of school and someone who's a few years away from retirement that has great experience, and you put them in a room and you can figure out, you know, you can unlock ideas and solutions that you never would have been able to do if everybody had the same level of experience. Or you get people, you know, racial diversity or diversity from different backgrounds or cultural diversity. And so just all that experience coming together provides a totally different lens on the opportunity ahead. And so I think people are starting to see that it actually has a tangible business outcome. I think there were a number of years, and I know in my career, I experienced it previously, you know, there were a number of years where it was just the right thing to do. Like people were like, it's good to have diversity. We want to focus on that. But I think people are realizing now it is the right thing to do, but it also creates a better outcome. And so there's a focus on what does a diverse business look like, and how much better can you run, and how many different ideas can you come up with, and how can you tackle problems in a different way. So I think diversity itself is becoming more diverse. That's a thing, you know, it's not just about gender, but it's great to see the focus on that, and it's great to see the emphasis on companies as they look to diversify their own leadership teams or executive teams and their workforce in general.
So is that a discussion that DIRTT has in terms of ensuring that there is a diverse balance at all levels of the business?
Absolutely. Our CHRO, Lindsay Gusso, that's at the top of her agenda, is diversity, and we talk about it in all of our town hall meetings with our teams and what we're doing there. But it is a topic that we're looking to put more focus on. I mean, I think naturally we've had a pretty diverse workforce, you know, just that's happened. But now I think it's about making sure that we've got focus and at all levels when we're hiring and interviewing, that we're just keeping that in mind, and that we're being really open, and we're making sure that we're deliberately creating diverse environments. And it's great to see that become a focus here at DIRTT.
So tell me more about the partner network at DIRTT and where you want to take it, because I know that this is a big area for you. What your plans are from where it was to where you want to see it.
Yeah, I think we talked a little bit earlier about how the client focus has always been our main focus at DIRTT, and the client is the heart of our business. But at the same time, we've always gone to market through our partners. And so we were so focused on clients for, since inception for the last 15 years, that we hadn't put a deliberate strategy around how are we really going to help our partners grow? How are we going to make sure that we have some diversity in our partner channel? And I think about backgrounds and experience and the types of other businesses that they have. Most of our partners have another business that they're running alongside this that has to do with interior construction or building out interiors. And so how do we start to diversify the types of partners that we have? So, for us, it's never a numbers game for me. It's never about, can we get more? So when people say to me, how many partners do you want to have in 5 years? I'm like, I hope we have the same number we have right now. I'm not looking to go and get a number of new partners. What I want to do is continue to build strength and scale with the partners that we have. So how do we build into their businesses? How do we help them scale? They're amazing, and we learn a lot from them already. But what can we do to really add value and help them drive more successful outcomes? So that's where we'll be focused for the next number of years, is strengthening the relationship and helping them grow, because that's ultimately what's going to lead to our growth as well.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I remember reading you saying about speaking to your partners. Maybe you could speak to that more, particularly now, why it's important.
Yeah, I think that I think when you go to these virtual environments, or you start to, work more virtually, as we all are right now, and I think will continue for quite some time and potentially forever, maybe not to this level, of course, but there's a lot of opportunity when you're sending emails or digital electronic communication for the message to get lost, or for people to misunderstand or misinterpret. And it's like, is that what you meant? Or is that what you said? And so, I always used to say that nothing replaces a face-to-face visit. I love to sit down with someone in person. I love to visit a business. I love to see how they do business and see their warehouse and visit their job sites. Like, I love to do that. But in the absence of that, it can't go from that to just emails. And so, making sure that you get time with the partners. I'm calling partners. I think the other day I had 4 different partner meetings, and just finding out what's going on in their business, what's working, where do they need some help, how are they thinking about their future, where do they see risk, where do they see opportunity, because they're out there in the field every day. And we have partners that are fully back in the office, and we have other partners that are still completely locked down working remote. And so you're trying to meet them where they're at, and it all needs to be done through conversation. What's actually interesting now is, previously you'd see them you go and see them in person, and in between then, when you talk, you just call them. Well, now it's so weird, because when you call someone, it's so weird to be talking to someone and not see them. Like, it's like the cell phone has almost become weird, because you're like, well, let's just get on Teams. I want to be able to see you, or get on a Zoom call. And it's very different than it was. But yeah, still a lot of FaceTime, but different, because you build relationship lots of times. Over dinner, you have a long day of meetings, you do a bunch of planning, and then you build relationship and trust. And that part I'm missing for sure.
Yeah. So tell me more about the next growth phase. I think you were talking about leadership and systems.
Yeah, I think, as we're looking and setting our sights around accelerated growth, you want to build that foundation for the next phase of growth. So I think any company, we're 15 years in, and we organically have sales methodologies or systems, some homegrown, some not, that got us to where we are. But then you get to a point where you're like, okay, in order to continue to grow, we need to build that next foundation. And so right now we're looking at, what does that next foundation look like? And I think it's, there's going back to diversity, we've got people that have been with the company since day one, and then we're hiring people that have just, they're just starting, they're in their first weeks or their first months. And so you're bringing in different perspectives from different industries and combining that with people who have the expertise and the experience in this industry with this company. And so that leadership mix is helping challenge the status quo and help us think about what the future looks like and what we need to do differently. So I think there's a lot of investment in leadership, making sure that we have the right people in the right roles at the right time, driving the business. And so that's been a big one. Systems, of course, are important, and systems have changed even over the last 6 months as everything has become virtual, because all of our sales presentations for the most part have moved to online. And so people need to get really good at new tools and new ways of telling a story that are captivating in taking into consideration that someone's sitting in front of their computer for so long in a day that if you don't do something different, you're not going to get their attention. And so, making sure that you have the right systems in play. Structure has been another area of focus for us. So just making sure that we have, the right structure, the right, you want to have the right sales methodology, you want to have the right tools in place. You want to make sure that you're doing things in a consistent, repeatable way, not reinventing the wheel every time, that you've got a proper onboarding process. And so all of those things kind of build that foundation for that next phase of growth.
And then in terms of amplifying that, do you do that very much through the DIRTT experience? As you say, everyone's in sales, everyone's, a brand marketer and ambassador. How does that work?
Yeah, I think, we always want to make sure that our partners have all the tools that they need to be able to tell the DIRTT story and their story and the difference that we're making in this industry. And so empowering them, the best thing you can do to empower someone to be a brand ambassador or to go out and tell your story is to provide a great experience. I think about some of the brands that I'm a loyal advocate for and of, and that I refer, and they've never asked me to refer, but I just love doing business with them. And so how do you create an experience where everybody just, they're running around raving about the great experience that they had with you, because that's going to be the best of all. So, continuing to deliver excellence consistently provides us with, brand ambassadors or natural salespeople that are out telling our story.
Lovely, lovely. Now, I know I've taken up quite a bit of your time, but you've just got so much great experience and knowledge, and I could talk to you all day.
We're going to have to do this again, Janice.
Yeah, we're definitely going to have to do this again. So if you're on a desert island, what's the one thing you would take with you?
I suppose the right answer is probably like your spouse or your, I'm sure your let's say we're talking about
they're not listening, so they'll never know.
Never know about this. He's not on social media, he doesn't know. But anyways, I think about this is a bad answer, but I think I would probably take some kind of a device. Like I think about an iPad, or probably an iPad, because it's a window into the world, and I think it's like a connection to everything. Probably not on a deserted island. You're probably not allowed to have that. And there's probably no Wi-Fi connection.
You can have what you want.
Okay, well, because it's like a window into the world, and it's a little bit of a lifeline. Like I think right now, especially as we're going through these times, and you've got family all over the world, and because you do as well, those devices keep you connected when you can't get there in person. And so being able to stay connected to what's going on and to your friends and family, I think that's probably what I would take.
It's interesting because a lot of people do say their phone, their iPad, or Audible. Don't you think how much we have changed in that this is the thing that we the first thing that we kind of go for, but also the fact that we're in a pandemic. Had we not had the technology that was available sitting there that we weren't really utilizing, how different our experience would have been.
I can't even imagine if this would have happened. I think about even when I started at Sage, there were no video meetings. We weren't doing video meetings, but I worked remotely, and I was on the phone. I was on conference calls most of the day, and you're just sitting there on the phone looking at nothing. I mean, you're looking at your own computer, but I think about how different that would have been then. I mean, that would have just been so challenging. But then go back another 10 years before that, I think there are a number of businesses that were able to survive because of technology. And if we wouldn't have been able to do this, I think it would have been a very different outcome.
Yeah, absolutely. Amen to that one.
Absolutely.
So Jennifer, how can the listeners get hold of you?
Yeah, it's always, I'm always available on Twitter. So I'm at Jennifer Warawa, and I love social media, love to connect on LinkedIn, and just love to meet new people and get connected to the folks out there. So you'll find me on social channels for sure.
Brilliant, brilliant. Well, thank you so much for being a guest on Scale Your Sales podcast, Jennifer.
Thank you so much. It's been great to catch up with you.